the strategy that has been used. Now there is what they call the sector-wide approach to prevention, where HIV AIDS component is included almost in all sectors of Uganda. In economy, you talk about in agriculture, in police, in military, in sports, in schools, in education, in finance. So it's like there is a huge voice, there is a massive voice about HIV AIDS, how it is spread and how it can be prevented.
There was a paper presented at the UN where it shows that the level of AIDS, HIV, the prevalence level of HIV in Uganda has fallen from 29.8 down to 6.1. And that's dramatic. No other country has achieved that. And I think it's because of its open policy to those who are infected and its openness to help people who are infected, and also because the churches and the government have put their forces together and have really addressed the root causes and have helped people to say no to sex outside marriage.
When I finished high school, I started working with Youth Alive. My experience with Youth Alive is twofold, and I'll start with the positive one. You know, when you're doing this work, I've always had pride in seeing results. You go for a program, it's just like, you know, they just invite you to go and maybe facilitate a school through Education for Life or a behavior change program. And you leave the school at the end of the program. But when you go up to follow up, when you go back to carry out a follow-up program, you find that they have formed the Youth Alive Club, and they have even gone, you know, the Ugandan setting, we have villages out of school, so they go to their places where they come from in their villages, and they even form the same clubs and do the same work we are doing. And the biggest strength we have is that they do it at a voluntary basis, because we encourage them that this work is not, we are not paid for this work. We are just saving ourselves. So if you can save a brother out there, it's better than saving yourself alone. So when you look at the work you're doing and notice that it is trickling down to other people whom you don't even know, it gives us the courage to move on. And then the negative one is the reality of HIV AIDS in Uganda is a big one. So in most of these places where we go for programs, you really feel touched, because after these talks, people come, these young boys and girls come to us. They confide in us and they tell us their problems, how they contracted HIV and how they were abused. They want to know how to move on. So it is such a challenging task to get them back on track. That is the hardest bit we have had, but we still try to get on with them, and we have kept in touch with them. And another thing is, everywhere we have gone, you know, schools, you know, young people are very hard to deal with, especially when they're at school with their teachers and so on. But every time we've been to these schools and other youth centers, the administrators of those centers have always given us a feedback that their institutions have changed, both in discipline and then even morally. So they are appreciative of what we are doing.
I really believe, because of my own experience with working with young people, many young people who, when you come to them, one young person said to me once, you know, I really wish I had met you 3 months ago. This is an experience I had in 2002, where we went to this school, did an Education for Life workshop, only to find that a few months, 3 months to be exact, a different program had come that was talking more about the safer sex approach. And I asked this young person why, and they say, well, because then I hadn't had sex until these people came and they distributed condoms, and, you know, with a condom in my pocket, of course, I had to go and use it. I find it funny that many times people would say, when you give condoms to people, you are not saying that they must go and have sex. That I find confusing. Why else would I give you keys to a house if I'm not saying you can open it and go in.
I remember we carried out a workshop for district stakeholders, and all of them came, all the district stakeholders, teachers, politicians, they all came in. And when they came in, they had a nice time with us. They shared with us their experiences, and we told them what would make them be role models for the students, for their children, and for other people who would see them as leaders. And as a result of that, each time we go to the offices, they tell us we are doing well. And when you go to schools and you ask them, who is your role model? They tell you, it is our DEO, that is District Education Officer. If you ask why, they give you the reasons pertaining that. So I think the leaders have also accepted it with all hands, with that happiness and hope, and it is doing well.
I think if you really trust in the Lord, trust in His power at work, people can change. And I think that's what we need to do. And the more people that change and encourage others to change, I think then it'll spread into the environment, into the society. If promiscuity is not accepted in the society, people are less likely to do it.
Yeah, to the youth out there, they should not look at abstinence as jail, as prison, but it is rather freedom, and they should strive to get that freedom.
It's been a very wonderful experience because I have seen that young people really want to be good. They don't want to mess up their lives. Somehow through the negative peer pressure that's out there, so many of them get led into the wrong behaviours. And yet when you can really work with them, so many of them can make those commitments and live them out. And so if you like now, it's many youth ministering to other youth and really being role models for them.
Behavior is just a symptom of what is taking place in someone's mind and someone's heart. It's a manifestation. So if you don't deal with the heart and the mind, then you are getting a temporary solution to a permanent problem.
There's more to sex than just getting pregnant or getting AIDS, because it's a very close bonding together of a man and a woman. And there's all sorts of psychological effects of that and spiritual effects. And when somebody has a partner here, a partner there, somebody else here, and continuous changing, I think in some way you leave some part of yourself with that person. And to me, our Christian values also, I mean, if 2 of the 10 commandments say, don't commit adultery, don't covet your neighbour's wife. And I think we've got to hold on to those values. I think they were given to us by God in order to guide us and to help us.
The issue is now being turned, the attention is being turned from the much cherished condoms in the past now to the abstinence and faithfulness. And these are the virtues, the strategies that we in Youth Alive stand for. So with the coming of these new developments and the much cherished blessings of our leader, I feel we are going to make a great impact in the fight against HIV AIDS. And therefore, my advice to the other nations, the other groups whose governments have not yet taken up the issue of abstinence and faithfulness, is high time they advocated for the same. It took us time to convince our leaders to change to this stand, and we combined efforts. You can't just do it alone. We combined efforts with the people who stand for the same values, and now we are reaping from our efforts.